a 15th century manuscript that is filled with different drawings and illustrations and is divided into herbal, astronomical, cosmological, biological, pharmaceutical, and recipe sections. And yet no one knows the purpose of this manuscript. Furthermore, no one can fully decipher the text that is included in this manuscript. Today I will introduce you to the Voynich Manuscript. The age of the manuscript was determined using radiocarbon dating, so while the age was found, the author and the text itself is not deciphered. We know some of the owners that had this manuscript in their possessory, and while these names may seem unimportant or unfamiliar to you, at least look at this letter that was also attached to the book when Voynich bought it, that was sent from Marcy to Kircher. Reverend and Distinguished Sir, Father in Christ. This book bequeathed to me by an intimate friend I destined for you, my very dear Athanasius, as soon as it came into my possession, for I was convinced that it could be read by no one except yourself. The former owner of this book, to its deciphering he devoted unflagging toil, as is apparent from attempts of his which I send you herewith, and he relinquished hope only with his life. But his toil was in vain, for such sphinxes as these obey no one but their master Kircher. Accept now this token, such as it is and long overdue though it be, of my affection for you, and burst through its bars, if there are any, with your wonted success. Dr. Raphael, a tutor in the Bohemian language to Ferdinand III, the King of Bohemia, told me the said book belongs to the Emperor Rudolph, and that he presented to the bearer who brought him the book 600 ducats. He believed the author was Roger Bacon, the Englishman. On this point I suspend judgment. It is your place to define for us what view we should take thereon, to whose favour and kindness I unreservedly commit myself and remain, at the command of your reverence, Johannes Marcus Marcy of Kronland, Prague, 19th of August, 1665. Baffling to say that even centuries ago people were trying to solve this mystery. In 1912, Wilfrid Voynich bought about 30 manuscripts and tried to decipher and find the origins of all of them. But the Voynich manuscript was special. It was not easily solvable. Now the manuscript sits at the Yale University since 1969. And many enthusiasts over the years have tried to solve it. Nearly every page has botanical, figurative and scientific illustration of a vivid character, painted in ink with vibrant washes in various colors of green, brown, yellow, blue and red. Upon protein analysis that happened in 2014, we can say that the manuscript is written on calf skin, and the color is not original but was added years later and does not help in solving the mystery. The stitching that was used for binding was made of wood. But it is unknown whether it was like that in the original version. Parchment quality is average, there are some defects in the folios. The book is also confirmed not to be a palimpsest. There have also been talks about whether the illustrations or the text was written first, or maybe they both were done simultaneously. This can impact the meaning of the text, because then we'll know if the illustrations have anything to do with the text. Also, some researchers say that the illustrations were done by many different artists during different periods of time, which raises the question if all the illustrations were meant to be there in the first place. Judging by the numeration of the pages, it seems like there are in total of 14 missing folios. Some illustrations indicate that the origin of the manuscript can be found in northern Italy, because of the drawings of castles that look fairly similar. The text seems to be written in German, Latin and Voynichese, and yet no one can translate a single sentence so that the manuscript text can seem logical. Herbal contain unique plant illustrations, and although there have been attempts to compare if these drawings are a tradition to other herbal manuscripts of that time, but Voynich seems to be different in this case. There was a trend during the early Renaissance that herbal illustrations were copied from one manuscript to another. However, Voynich manuscript seems to be truly original. Astronomical contain a sun and or moon in the center, and around them star shapes are formed. It was even suggested that one of the illustrations represents the Andromeda galaxy and that certain similarities could be found. cosmological contain circle geometrical designs that contain extra text on top of them. The biggest of these drawings is the 6-page fold-out that is connected to 9 circles with 4 smaller elements on the corners, known as the Rosettes page. It contains several depictions of buildings, one of which is the earlier mentioned northern Italian castle. There are 6 tower-like buildings that support a plane filled with stars in the center circle, and some people believe that this artwork depicts a map. Zodiac contain every zodiac sign in concentric circles except for Capricorn and Aquarius. These exact illustrations were similar to other manuscripts that contained zodiac signs at the time. Biological has drawings of nymphs drawn into some type of pot or a cloud. Interestingly enough, this part could have been added later without the original intent, because there are some inconsistencies in the illustrations. Some form combined illustrations while others seem out of place. Pharmaceutical consists of bifolios containers, small herbal drawings that sometimes are pure copies from the herbal section. Some of the containers are empty while others appear to be filled with a liquid that has been painted in various colors. At the end of the manuscript there are some pages that has a text along with stars that are similar to the zodiac section. The manuscript also contains different types of texts, labels, single words that are found next to objects that probably says the name of the element, titles, the last line of paragraph that is either left justified, centered, or right justified. There is also some text in circles that usually go around the drawings and key-like sequences that seem to form some sort of code, possibly. The text may just be a bunch of gibberish, however Latin characters, Arabic numbers, abbreviations, alchemical symbols, all can be found in the text. Overall, it's a mystery that can take up years of research and still provide no results. However, many have claimed that they have solved the mystery, but today we will take a look at just one example. Just a few years ago, a man by the name Nicholas Gibbs claimed to have solved the decades-old mystery, claiming that the manuscript is a guide to women's health and that it has copied information from many other manuscripts that were available at the time, which is contradicting to what other researchers claim, that this manuscript is one of a kind. Gibbs saw a pattern in the text, and to what others thought was a code, he saw Latin abbreviations for plants and similar drawings in the manuscript. Upon further research, he noticed other similar texts and illustrations similar to 2 Latin medical books, Trotua and De Balnesis Puteolanis. So he realized that the Voynich Manuscript could be a medical textbook, because at the time herbal medicine was trending along with some pseudoscience like the involvement of zodiac signs and magnets. But as it turns out, it was a bunch of information that we already knew, and some of it can't exactly be proven to be true. Experts say that if the manuscript is written indeed in Latin, then the translation that Gibbs provided as an example does not make sense. And Gibbs also claimed that the book once had an index that translated all the abbreviations, however that can't be proven, although there are missing pages. Although the part about the manuscript being a medical book on women's health might be true, that is not new information. Other researchers have said it way before Gibbs, so this just proves that you need to take information on the internet with a grain of salt. If we think about it, then one person usually could never figure it out. There needs to be a whole team considering the amount of information that needs to be processed, and Gibbs' claims needed to be fact-checked by Latin translators and other important people. Based on the available information, the Voynich manuscript text can be one of these 3. Either it is a text in an extant language, a coded text, message from beyond this world, or a hoax created by someone. Let's take a look at the first option. A great revelation was in 2019 when an University of Bristol academic Dr. Gerard Jisher found out what kind of text lies in the Voynich manuscript. He says, "I experienced a series of eureka moments whilst deciphering the code, followed by a sense of disbelief and excitement when I realized the magnitude of the achievement both in terms of its linguistic importance and the revelations about the origin of and content of the manuscript." He revealed that the manuscript is written in a forgotten language, Proto-Romance, a mix of Portuguese, Spanish, French, Italian, Romanian, Catalan, and Galician. In medieval times, the language was used quite a lot around the Mediterranean. However, Latin language was still the dominant one, and the only acceptable language to the government. It has some components taken from Latin language, but still the alphabet, the punctuation, and the consonants differ. So if the text is actually meaningful, then all it takes is for a group of researchers to learn this Proto-Romance language and then hope that the text can be successfully translated. However, there are skeptics out there, one of them being Dr. Lisa Fagan-Davis, Executive Director of the Medieval Academy of America, and she says that there never existed a Proto-Romance language, although Cheshire was convinced that Proto-Romance language was used at the time. There's not enough evidence to support it because any documentation from the time is written in Latin. Then I found online a quite ridiculous but yet intriguing theory. You know, if so far we still haven't translated the text and we have seen illustrations that seem out of this world, then maybe, just maybe, the book was written by aliens and somehow ended up on our planet. This is the people's favorite theory to believe, even though it's not the most realistic one. Because if there were aliens, for what purpose would they use Earth material to write 200 plus pages of text with illustrations and also include numbers that are known and used on this world? Just sounds like a waste of time for an advanced creature like that. And as much as I want to entertain this idea, I don't have any evidence to support this alien theory. And blaming this manuscript on creatures that are out of this world just because we can't translate this text. However, what sounds more plausible is that this whole manuscript might be written in a fictional language as a hoax. And the reason is that there have been other books in the past written in a completely fictional language. For example, the Codex Seraphinianus, published in 1981 by an Italian artist Luigi Serafini. It is a 360 pages long manuscript containing illustrations with flora, fauna, anatomy, fashion, and food. The catch is that the drawings are from an imaginary world that the author created. They are abstract, colorful, and detailed. Also, the text is written in a fictional language. Imagine the dedication needed to create something like this, but it is a work of art after all. It was created with a purpose to make us look like children that don't yet understand everything that is written in a book. So can therefore Voynich Manuscript be something similar? I don't think so, because it was written way earlier when abstract art was not a thing. Of course, it still can be a work of fiction, but created by no other than Wilfred Voynich himself. You see, the manuscript material is from the 15th century. However, it is plausible that Voynich bought this material empty and created this hoax himself, or changed the manuscript drastically, because remember that there are missing pages. Voynich encouraged people to decipher the text while he himself would look for the origins of the book. So he tried to popularize the mystery and then sold the manuscript for a fortune, possibly. Or maybe even crazier, that the letter that I mentioned at the start is also a fabrication by Wilfred to make the manuscript more valuable, more believable. And considering that Wilfred was an antique book dealer, he obviously had the knowledge. The only evidence against this theory is the internal dating of the manuscript. Considering everything that we've looked at so far, there is no clear conclusion we can draw, but here are my thoughts. I speculate that the manuscript originally was intended for a specific person or a group of persons that created this language or coded text so that no one from the outside wouldn't be able to read it. Over time, the manuscript lost its purpose and original owners, and it was filled up by other people. Certain pages were taken out so that it is appropriate, and because we don't have the full picture, we can't exactly translate anything correctly. We are missing some parts of the story, and of course, further research is needed, but not by me. I'm not capable of doing a research of that magnitude. Maybe it is possible for you guys, my viewers. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Anyway, stay safe, and God bless.